And welcome back. First weather and climate chat in a couple of weeks due to some very busy schedules on the part of the two Michaels, Dr. Michael Davis and Monsoon Mike. Dr. Davis, welcome back once again.
It's going to be back after our break.
Yeah, good to be back after the break. Really wasn't a break. We were very busy. But,
for us, not
for
the
us,
university.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're back. Been an interesting past couple of weeks, and I'm just going to dive headfirst right into a question. Normally, I'll save questions like this for 2-3 minutes in, but I'm just going to dive headfirst now. We've had some really wild roller coaster temperatures. And I know that's not necessarily unusual for fall. Fall is this transition season. But I don't remember quite a fall like this one where we'll, soar up to 82 degrees and then the next day be back in the 50s and then couple days later be back up near 80 again and then be back in the 50s. Is it normal to have such wide swings like we've been having this year so far?
Typically in the fall, you do get a
Yeah.
lot in the way of swings in temperature because of jet streams oscillating up and down, north,
Right.
south, moving around the hot and the cold air. The extreme swings, though, are, at least I don't recall them being this
As extreme.
extreme as what we've been seeing going in the 80s and then down into the 50s, if not near freezing overnight.
Right.
So there's been a wide swing in temperatures, one that I don't think I've ever seen before. So we've been having a lot of extreme cases in temperature, which is somewhat alarming in terms of it kind of going against the grain of winters,
What's
falls
normal?
past.
Yeah.
So you can take that with a grain of salt, perhaps.
Right.
But this is usually the time of the year when you're going to be
You
getting
get that
these
kind of
wide
stuff.
swings.
And I would expect some swings. I would expect some days to be upper 60s, low 70s. But how many times did we try to put the nail in the coffin on 80s and they keep coming back?
And the magnitude is just
Yeah.
extreme. In
Yeah,
that case.
the 80s just don't want to die. I think finally maybe we can put the nail in the coffin on the 80s. Maybe.
Watch, like
Yeah.
next week it'll be 80.
Yeah, I think the latest, I looked this up, I think the latest it was ever 80 in Pennsylvania was around November 10th, 1949 or something like that. I got to look up the exact day, but it's possible. And with the way this year's going, anything's possible. But I don't see anything on the map for now, at least.
Yeah, nothing in the
Yeah.
immediate future would suggest 80.
We are going to have a little swing tomorrow, a little one-day surge of warmth. I think down toward Philadelphia may flirt with 70. Here it looks like, mid to upper
Mid-60s.
60s. Yeah. I noticed there's going to be a pretty wild day-night swing tomorrow. Tonight we're forecasting temperatures near freezing, and then tomorrow perhaps like around 66, 67 degrees. That's close to 40-degree swing there.
Yeah, again, because
Yeah.
of the jet stream having these ridges and troughs, the waves and jet stream coming through, resulting in these drastic changes in temperature.
Now, I did see a more significant cool down for this weekend. I don't know if you were looking at this
Yeah.
weekend. This looks like our first legitimate shot at, dare I say, almost a wintry type feel, with maybe highs only in the mid-40s for a few days.
Considering we've been in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s the past couple of weeks.
It'll feel pretty
it
darn
would feel
chilly.
chilly. Yeah, there's a weak cold front. Looks like it's going to pass Wednesday into Thursday, and then
Maybe a shower somewhere, but not very likely.
yeah, chances for the uplift are not looking so good. But then the much more vigorous cold front looks like Friday and the Saturday.
And that cold front looks like it comes through fairly dry, despite it being a fairly vigorous front.
Yeah, because it's coming down from the northwest, which would be associated with Canada, where you're going to have a lot of that cold, dry continental polar air.
Now, does this stretch of chill that comes this weekend hang around? I'm looking at the Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day outlook, and this is something that I have not seen in a while. Actually, blues all up and down the East Coast. I've gotten used to seeing all these reds up and down the East Coast. So that's 6 to 10 day. 8 to 14 day is where? Oh, 8 to 14 day, we come right back up.
Chances are,
Yeah.
where you're having the colder air for the next week or so,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably having a ridge pattern developing across the Atlantic Ocean, which is going to be setting up pretty much a blocking pattern,
Right.
allowing that trough to sit over the East Coast for a couple days, giving us colder temperatures.
But on the whole, the month still looks like it leans a little on the above average side. I'm looking at the 1 month outlook, and I don't see any deep reds like we've seen before, but I still see us in the oranges. Yeah.
Well, start November, that's when we had the 80-degree days and
Right.
whatnot. So that's probably going to be skewing the results closer toward the higher than average results. But if they're still saying, like they are right now, that we're going to be warmer than average for the remainder of the month, it probably stands to reason we're going to be pretty much on the money climatologically or slightly above.
Yeah, I'm looking at AccuWeather. That's my other favorite sites to look at long-range forecast as well, too. They have us for 69 tomorrow, so they have us getting dangerously close to the 70. And with the way this year has been going, with it leaning warm,
I wouldn't surprise.
whatever, 70. I'll even say 71. You never know. There could be a renegade 71 somewhere. But looks like we do cool back to normal Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This weekend,
yeah, the temperature drops.
There's that shot on Saturday. Only 46 for a high and nights in the 20s. But then even Sunday, we start to go right back up close to normal, and even most of, at least the early part of next week, at maybe even a little above normal. Maybe 1 or 2 days cooler, but generally that pattern of at or a little bit above, maybe around Thanksgiving we get into something a little cooler, and into December maybe a little on the cooler side, but nothing really dramatic.
Yeah, and that kind of stems into December, when the Climate Prediction Center was looking at still warmer than average temperatures for then. So I'm personally thinking that winter's going to get a later start. I don't think we're going to get the cold and snow till January.
I'm looking at December on AccuWeather, and they're kind of going along this. I don't know. December looks fairly average to me. There's some days that are a little cooler, some days it might be a little on the warmer side, but it looks fairly like an average December to me, at least from AccuWeather's standpoint.
It looks like the first snow mention they have is Christmas Eve. Is that?
Look at that. Snow, ice, and rain at times. And remember, folks, we don't take these long-range 90-day forecasts on AccuWeather seriously, but
I think we'll be addressing that later.
We'll be addressing that later. Snow, ice, and rain at times on Christmas Eve. So if that held true, that would be a pretty messy Christmas Eve, and it would be the total opposite of Christmas Eve 2015 when it was, 71 degrees?
Yeah, if not warmer. I think it was 80 in some areas.
So that would be a drastic change of Christmas. I will go out on the limb and say that I don't think that we're going to have a ridiculously warm December like we did last year, but I think it will lean more on the average side.
Yeah, because you're going to be looking at December temperatures around, climatologically at least, average of mid-40s, low 40s, upper 30s, maybe some 50s at times, but generally speaking, I think we're going to be in the 40s.
Now, I do have to mention, and just because they are pretty wildly popular on social media in this area, there is a firm called the Eastern PA Weather Authority that is not necessarily agreeing with us, and saying that winter is going to get a very early start. It's going to be cold in December, even colder in January. Who knows? He might be right. We might have egg on our faces, and he might be very, pumping his chest up a month or two from now, but he's banking on what? A La Nina, I believe?
La Nina developing. And
you don't see that happening?
I don't see La Nina developing myself.
Okay.
I think we're going to be more neutral. He might have a very slight La Nina.
Okay.
But he's definitely taking the leap that La Nina is going to occur. And from what I've been seeing, it sounds like it's become pretty stagnant and not really developing.
So basically, the long and short of it is, I guess you could call this a very preliminary early winter forecast for us, at least from my perspective, and it looks like you agree. Looks fairly average, nothing too extreme one way or the other at this point.
We seem to be picking about an average.
Yeah, that's not to say that we couldn't have some activity before Christmas, but I'm not looking at a whole lot of stuff right now.
No,
yeah.
I think personally, from my vantage point, winter's going to get rolling about January.
Okay, so that's your forecast that you think we're going to get rolling January.
I think it's going to happen a little bit later.
Okay, all right, and that's opposite of what he's saying because
I think December's going to be chilly.
Okay,
but still above average.
Okay,
and I don't think the snow really happens till January.
Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. I mean, hopefully, for you folks that do like white Christmases, hopefully we can get you something cooking this year. Let's just say you might have a better chance this year than you did last year.
Oh, yeah. Instead of being in the shorts out back with your Christmas barbecue.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I actually had a neighbor that was barbecuing just to be a smarty pants. He's like, why not? It's 71 degrees. It's 71 degrees. Why not have Christmas barbecue? Okay. Well, speaking of long-range forecasts, just for anybody that's new to our little podcast series here, one thing we started way back, AccuWeather started in, I think, earlier this summer issuing a 90-day forecast. And you and I were a little skeptical of it, but I decided to do, with your approval, an I will say it's unscientific, survey or study of how accurate they've been with that 90-day forecast. I printed it off on August 29th, and that took us all the way till the end of November. So we're almost at the end of our study. But so far, and I showed you the stats earlier, not been that great.
No, that they've really come back down to earth, I would say, in November.
And that's not to say there wasn't some days that they were right on. They were right on Halloween. They were right on. But what really threw them off this year was those wild swings of, for October 30th, for example, forecast. Yeah, forecast 54 degrees, mostly cloudy. Actual 82 degrees, partly sunny.
And that highlights why
Yeah.
these long-term outlooks, both from weather models, climate models, sometimes need to be really given a sense of skepticism with it, because you have this, what's happening now is not picking out these extreme cases.
Right. And this has definitely been a fall of, well, maybe not extreme weather, but extreme temperatures, per se.
And these long-term trends are based entirely around climate.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. With that, I'll keep doing this for the fun of it. I was getting close to Dr. Davis just saying, you know what, I'm done. But I'm going to go through the full 90 days and see what
If
happens.
we stuck it out this far, I might as well,
I might as well
keep it
just go
going
all the
for
way.
a couple more weeks.
I got to see if that little bit of ice on Thanksgiving morning or whatever it says
Yeah.
still happens.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah,
but
it's
we'll
no
see.
longer there now. Their current forecast, I think. What's our Thanksgiving now, according to this thing?
It was sunny, I think. and
Is
like-
it mostly sunny
49,
and 49? So that's an average Thanksgiving, pretty much. Okay.
although it's raining on Wednesday and Friday.
Oh yeah, that would be bad for the pre-holiday travel and the Black Friday shoppers.
Yep.
They'll get wet both ways, with a nice Thanksgiving in between. Well, we'll see where that goes.
A nice 44-degree day on Black Friday.
So it'll be chilly.
Chilly, rainy day.
Yeah.
People be out there 5 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, 5. You kidding me? They're lined up at like midnight. You kidding me? Yeah. All right. So we discussed that. We talked about the coming week's weather. Topic before we go. We lost a climate scientist recently. Tell us a little bit about the passing of this gentleman.
It was Ralph Chacrone.
Okay.
He was a former president of the National Academy of Sciences, and he was pretty much in charge of basically spearheading most of the push for climate change and how we humans are essentially interacting with the atmosphere. For one, he was at the University of California, Irvine, where he was with this gentleman, Professor Sherwood Rowland. And both him and Dr. Rowland were credited with helping lay the groundwork for basically the discovery that man-made chemicals were destroying the ozone layer.
Right.
And that work was pretty much used in the Montreal Protocol, which was then used to ban CFCs, and which is slowly starting to regenerate, or the ozone's starting to regenerate now. And Rowland did win a Nobel Prize for all that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically after that, he started to focus his attention more on how climate change and anthropogenic sources are affecting the climate. And a lot of the legislation pretty much got its start from those earnest beginnings.
Interesting. So, so obviously, like you said off the air, this was a little bit before your time, and my time, obviously. But definitely someone that had some
Pretty much a pioneer.
A pioneer of sorts.
In terms of actually getting climate science in a legislative type form and trying to push for ways to mitigate climate back in the early stages of like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. So, and that's what we need to continue doing in this day and age is, keeping the legislation going.
We have to keep the ball rolling. We're in a very precarious situation right now in terms of where we stand on our environmental and climate record. The United Nations is currently meeting to discuss climate change and right now and today. And there's a whole pall pretty much over it and shadow or gloom about what's going to happen, whether the United States is going to stay with, say, the Paris Climate Agreement, or if they're just going to go along with it but not really support the goals laid out by the world.
Right. So obviously, without just wrapping it up, without making a political statement here, of course, Tuesday, whenever you listen to this, is Election Day. We're going to have the best weather possible for Election Day with temperatures near 70s,
Yes.
sunshine.
Weather will be great.
So no excuse whatsoever not to vote. We're not telling you who to vote for, but all I'm going to say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is when you put the two major candidates and even some of the more minor candidates side by side, make sure that when you're looking at issues that you put climate near the top of your list, because without a planet, we have nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
said better myself.
yeah. So so you can look at economy and all that good stuff. That's important. But if we don't have a planet to live on, we're not going to have any.
You can't eat money.
You can't eat money. So just weight your issues properly when you go to the voting booth.
Indeed.
That's all I can say. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Dr. Davis, thank you so much for joining me this week, and we'll talk again next week, hopefully.
Sounds good.
All right.